Hello again, everybody. I'm here today with Lieutenant Colonel Murray, retired of the First Hussars, and we're at the First Hussars Museum in downtown London, Ontario. Now, Colonel, can you start by telling us a little bit about the history of the regiment?
The First Hussars have been serving London and Canada and southwestern Ontario since 1856. Our regimental seniority goes back to 1872, and we celebrated our 150th year as a regiment last year. That coincided with the Holy Roller ceremony, and this coming year is the 79th anniversary of D-Day, and it's also obviously next year will be the 80th anniversary of D-Day. Uh, the regiment has been involved in every single conflict that Canada has been involved with in one way or the other, beginning with the Boer War. Then we went to World War One, and then after World War One, obviously World War Two, and then after World War Two, we went into peacekeeping, and we're currently serving in Latvia and in the Golan Heights, the Congo, and we just had people come back from Beirut. This museum is a volunteer museum. This museum has been in operation since approximately 1983, since 1983, and we've been in several locations, including the uh, old courthouse at the Forks of the Thames. And when this number one Dundas became available, the city graciously let us occupy it, and we've been here for about the last 12, 14 years. The museum is divided into four rooms. We have the Boer War room, we have the World War One room, we have the World War Two room, and we also have the current post-war room, including Afghanistan and up to peacekeeping and deployments today.
That's wonderful, thank you. And what have you got to show us for today?
What I have here today is one of the most important messages in the history of Canada and the history of the world. This is a message that ended World War One. It was sent to the troops on November 10th, 1918, and it says the following. Canadian Corps, 0645 hours, all hostilities will cease at 1100 hours on November 11th, and all troops will stand fast on the line reached at that hour, which will be reported to Corps headquarters. And defensive measures will be maintained, and there will be no intercourse of any description with the enemy. And further instructions will follow. And this went out to the First Hussars from the headquarters of the 4th Canadian Division. When students come to this museum, I say to them, how would you like to hold a piece of Canadian and world history? And they get to actually hold this, and we read it together. And many, many people tell me how they have goosebumps when they read it. And because this marked the end of World War One. Of course, it means even more to the people who come around November 11th, because it remembers the sacrifices of not only the people from World War One, but World War Two and Afghanistan and our peacekeeping missions today. So this is a very, very, very important piece of Canadian and world history.
One of the most famous stories that most Londoners know about the First Hussars is the story of the Holy Roller in Victoria Park. Do you mind telling us that story?
Absolutely pleased to tell you the story about the Holy Roller. The Holy Roller was manufactured in 1942 down out just outside Flint, Michigan. And it was one of two tanks that would land at D-Day, and they would fight all through the major battles, and it would be only one of two tanks that would make it to the end of the war in one piece. To give you an idea, the First Hussars lost 346 tanks in a 9-month period. That's about one a day. And to have the Holy Roller survive all those major battles was basically a miracle. What's really interesting about it as well is every single man that served in that Holy Roller came back alive. So soldiers looked upon it at the end of the war as a veteran, just like them. It was beat up, it was scarred, it was battle hardened, and they wanted to take it home. So they applied to the government. The government says, yes, you can bring one war trophy home per regiment. We brought back the Holy Roller. It was given to the City of London in the late 1940s, 47, 48, and it was put into the Western Fairgrounds as a monument. Now, you ask why the Western Fair? Because the Western Fair is where the regiment was barracked when they started to train for the Second World War. And they marched down York Street and got on the trains, and they went to Camp Borden, and then from Camp Borden to England. So that's why it was originally put at the Western Fair. In 1956, it was moved to Victoria Park, where it remained until 2 years ago. We went inside it and we took a look at it, and it was rusting apart. It was literally falling apart. People had pried open the back and they got inside and they were actually sleeping in it. And if we did not do anything, that tank would slowly dissolve and it would no longer be a fitting tribute to the men and women who serve Canada today and who have fought and died for freedom. So we took it upon ourselves to renovate or restore the Holy Roller to bring it back to its original condition. We raised around $250,000 last year, about June 4th in 2022. It was put back in place, and we had a ceremony marking the 150th anniversary of our regiment and also the 78th anniversary of D-Day. The Holy Roller twin, the other tank that survived, came from the Sherbrooke Fusiliers, and its name was Bomb, B-O-M-B. And they took theirs back as well. And in our research, what we found was that these two tanks were made on the same day, and they came off the assembly line one after another. And they both survived the war. It's just this amazing story. If you go to the Holy Roller and you take a look at it and you touch the side of it, you see where the bullets and the shrapnel have hit. You see that where the track has been blown off. The Holy Roller was a survivor, just like the veterans who came back. And I don't know how many times I've seen the veterans go there and touch the tank and start to cry, because it's a veteran just like them, and it brings back all the memories. Our museum is located at number 1 Dundas, and right at the forks of the Thames, right beside the splash pad, right across from Museum London, and right west of the old courthouse. Can't miss it. We are open during the summer from Tuesdays to Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And during the rest of the year, we're open on Saturdays from 1 to 4 o'clock. And then we close down during the winter, and then we start it up again. But we would love to have you come down to see. We have incredible stories here, not only about the Holy Roller, not only about the message that ended World War I, but we have stories that will bring a tear to your eye, and it will swell your heart with pride and you'll say to yourself, I'm glad I came to this museum.